Hello everybody, thank you for tuning into another Starcraft 2 broadcast. My name is Anaris, and today we're here watching a 1 vs 1 Zerg vs Terran on the map of xel'naga Caverns. The match today is between TranceSG, spawning in the top right position, against Kabin, or Kabin? Yeah, we'll call him Kabin, because it fits, down here in the bottom left position. Now this is from the Korean server, speaking of which, I have cast the first match set from the March Champions Trophy Tournament that took place, the whole live stream thing this weekend. Maybe you didn't want to wake up at the ass crack of dawn to watch it, and I don't blame you. It's okay. I mean, it was a series of games that took place in the Korean server, so we did have to adjust to their time zone. But all in all, it was a very fun tournament. Very glad to be a part of that. A lot of the games were played on the GSL maps, and the first match set, like I said, I've already cast. I've actually uploaded it to SK Gaming's to my channel over there, rather, and it's a pretty fun matchup series, so you can definitely go check that out in the video description. Just beneath the video there, you can check that out in your own free time. Whatever, it's cool. And I will actually be casting more of those games. I'm going to try to get my hands on all of the replays, even the ones that I was not able to view firsthand, and upload all of those to both YouTube and SK, and have a big old Korean Champions Trophy party. There were plenty of good players. We had a couple people from StarTale. We had Bomber and Ace. We had Check Prime, Maka Prime. We had Huck, and a bunch of other people. So definitely worth a watch. Watch once those videos get up. And now we come over here and we see this game, TranceSG originally sent his drone up there to scout, saw barracks, alright, that's cool, and then he doubled back around and he saw there's a second barracks going down for Kabin. So now, Trance knows that he is going to be coming under some heavy fire here in the early game, as the Terran's looking to do a sort of a 2 racks early pressure build. We see Trance responding by dropping down that spawning pool, and then shortly thereafter, the gas, almost immediately after. That was about 15 supply or so. We see now he's back up to 16. So he's going to be sitting pretty comfortably for the moment, but he is going to be anticipating an early attack. So we can expect to see him adjust his build accordingly. May decide to get a couple spine crawlers, may decide to get some early roaches even, something like that, although I'm not entirely sure roaches would be the best decision, considering the timing of the attack would most likely be before he would actually be able to have a decent bit of them ready to go for defense. He's going with what's more likely, the appropriate response here. The spine crawler, maybe bringing your queen down and try to keep the Terran player contained to this area. You don't want them getting up the ramp into this part, because you can see he'll have to move the spine crawler, and even though it's still certainly easy, or not easy, but viable to block off that attack, you want to be able to kill it as soon as possible. So we see actually the Zergling is going to be coming out here, just kind of patrolling around looking for the attack, which we see is right here. 3 SCVs, good to go. That's good for damage absorption. Also tanking the, of course, tanking the Zerglings, trying to keep them in position away from the Marines, doing a little bit of damage there. And if he decides to throw down a couple bunkers, obviously you need some SCVs for that. So actually there's the first whack coming over there from the little spaghetti monster tentacle, as I so lovingly call it. Terran actually deciding to just absorb the hits, continue to go around away from that spine crawler. Good response there, as you see his SCVs are actually pretty low on hit points. All of them have 2 bars there, but that Overlord loss is going to hurt. We see he actually built as many Zerglings as he could before losing that Overlord, choosing to put the money instead into extralings rather than an Overlord, because he realizes, you know what, I'm going to have to survive this if I'm even going to have to worry about an Overlord, so might as well just get those extralings now while I still can. Notice he's actually going into Tier 2 while all this is going on, working on 2 extractors, and now we're coming down here with 2 queens, getting ready to assault the 1 bunker. You see the Marines are actually in a nice little position right here, with the SCVs creating a nice nice funnel for the Zerglings. Unfortunately for the Terran player, though, he did lose that SCV of building the bunker, and so now it's looking like he's not going to be able to finish off this attack, even though he does have a couple Marines. I think one of them just died right there in a horrible, bloody mess. But all in all, Zerg has successfully thwarted the early aggression from the Terran player and is going fairly comfortably into Tier 2. I'm sure he would have liked to have had an expansion or something like that by now, but in the meantime, it looks like he is transitioning comfortably, so don't think he's too worried about that. We see he's actually coming out here with a few Zerglings. He may decide to go and do a little bit of harassment. You see the Terran player kind of vulnerable right now. He could throw down a bunker right here and be pretty safe, recycle it, and head out later whenever he is ready to go. He is dropping a command center here. He realizes the Zerg player will likely want to catch up here very quickly. And look at that, Zerglings getting past the past the depot just before it was actually built, so he is now in the main base with only a few Zerglings left, though. You see he's got 2 of them right now. SCVs coming off the line just to finish those off. I don't think they're going to live very long. Definitely here to scout for a while at least. Zerglings have been killed. All right, that's not surprising whatsoever. But we do have the Terran player actually decided to go with a factory. Now, that's a kind of interesting build. It's going to open up, the route. He could go the traditional Marine siege tank push. He could get some Hellions. He could get, pretty much anything that you would get with the factory there. But notice how he's dropping a second one as well. He hasn't floated this command center down to his natural yet. You see he's using both of them to continue to flood his mineral line with SCVs. Notice he's also working on 2 SCVs on this refinery right here. The plot thickens. See that Trance already has the Overlord speed upgrade. What is he doing, that sneaky little TranceSG? Getting a few Infestors really quickly, actually, as Kabin's going to be losing that Marine. That's not surprising. What is surprising, though, is the nice little placement of the creep tumors there, those little square of them. Cool story. Alright, so TranceSG decided to go ahead and drop down that expansion, realizing, alright, so the Terran player, he's hanging in here now, he's walled himself in, he's probably not going to be a threat, at least for a little while. And here's the Overlord coming down to confirm this. He's going to see the reactor going on to the factory, he saw the tech lab as well. And overall, he got a pretty good bit of information regarding what the Terran player is doing right now. Right now, you can see he's got actually just a bunch of Marines, and look at that, Kabin actually canceled the reactor and opted for a tech lab. So he could be kind of going for some dual upgrade action, likely the pre-infernal or the infernal pre-igniting, or swear, I don't know why I get those words confused, but I just do sometimes. As we see, TranceSG is moving out with a pretty mobile force, actually. A nice little creep spread on the natural expansion there. Just going to delay that a tiny bit while you see him move down here with his Zerglings, possibly looking to engage the forces directly. Nice fungal growth, hitting all of those Marines. Looks like he's going to go in for another one. All the Marines explode in a giant bloody mess. One bunker, it looks like, will be finishing, though, despite what could be the loss of several SCVs. Those Zerglings went in there just to see how many of those they could actually finish off, realizing, you know what, I'm probably going to lose these Zerglings, but if I can take out a bunch of SCVs with me, hey, I am all for it. So overall, let's look at the units lost right now. We can see 950 to 2100, 32 to 37. As for income right now, it's looking pretty good for the Terran player. So like I said earlier, he did have that mineral line very heavily saturated. Having the two mules working on the mineral line as well certainly does help. 31 to 34 total. As far as the actual army comparison, you can see the supply count's relatively even, 49 to 51 there. And we can actually use the handy-dandy pop-up for the army. You can compare the worker to the army supply right there. So we'll go on back to the production tab and see that the Overlord carrying upgrade just about complete there, the ventral sacks. Got a couple Infestors heading down here as well. What kind of crazy shenanigans could he be up to right now? I'm a little curious. He's also got another Overlord parked right here. We will keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, down here on the Terran base, we see he is still working on his infrastructure. He decided to go ahead and get a reactor on his barracks, while, sure enough, he's getting that upgrade for the Hellions. Got a couple Infestors loaded into this Overlord here. Looks like he is poised to do some kind of drop here into the Terran main base. You see it's pretty vulnerable right here. There's no depots ready to reveal the shroud, no structures here or anything like that. So this Overlord will move in undetected to what looks like the back of the mineral line. I'm sure Kabin at this point realizes what's going on. There's the fungal growth right there and a lot of SCVs. We see there's the second ones. Those are all going to die right there. Oh, so very close. Look at that, man. Mule, 1 hit point. Oh, man. It's okay. It's going to die in a second anyways. But meanwhile, there is another Overlord coming over here with 2 Infestors. This will probably, judging by the path, make a run over here at the natural expansion. We see he has continued to spread his creep. God, keep those creep timbers so tightly bunched up. I'm sure a Siege Splash will just annihilate those things. While he continues to build up his base even more, you can just take a quick look at the Zerg base, see how that is laid out. Pretty much the same since a few minutes ago. Now we're going to have Trance look to drop those Infestors in the mineral line. This time, though, the Terran player realizes, okay, something is definitely up. As this Overlord tries to make his escape, will he actually make it, though? The Marines are so very close. Wow, 53 hit points left on this Overlord. There are 3 Marines over here looking for blood right now, hoping to cause these Infestors just to drop down in the chasm below. That would definitely hurt if they hit that spike. See, the Marines are nice and spread out right there. Speaking of Marines, you see he doesn't have any upgrades just yet. Not quite at the point right now where he would be looking to get them, but I'm sure he will be looking to grab those in just a moment or two. Right now, he is entirely focused on trying to get this Overlord, which is at 40 hit points right now. So very close, but you know what? Hey, man, if it works, it works. As we see TranceSG moving in once again with his Overlord full of Infestors. Kabin's looking to retaliate, though. He's got 2 different groups of Hellions coming down in here to what could be the 3rd base. No, it looks like he's actually going to skip that and go over towards the natural expansion, where there are several Infestors. You see those going over here, as well as, I believe we had a little bit of harassment. Yeah, it looks like you lost those. But here are the Infestors. Now look at that. One nicely placed fungal growth there. I had to think of it for a second. Fungal growth on the Hellions. As we see, the attack is actually going to go not so well, but he's still getting in here. Might get a couple drone kills. Looks like he is going to roast a few of them. But he is pretty much backed into a corner here with all the roaches running around and the queen, so that attack is over. Down here, we see that attack with the Infestors wasn't quite so successful. Like I said a minute ago, he had the siege tank right here, ready to go, another one, as well as a couple Marines. So it was kind of limited on what he could possibly do. We see this mineral line is a lot more saturated, and Zerg is looking to take a more direct approach to confronting the Terran player. This could be in response to the fact that, hey, there's a big ol' honkin' command center getting ready to fly over here, and he may be trying to transition into taking his high-yield expansion, which means probably would have his siege tanks on siege. Not the case, though. You see, he still has a nice, solid line of defense right here. Several bunkers, got a few siege tanks in position, ready to go. Ooh, Neural Parasite. All right, can see some mind control in this game. Good stuff indeed, as Trance is just now starting to saturate his 3rd base here. We see he's also creeping up the 4th one. He may decide to take that or just simply lock it down. You see he's actually doing a great job of keeping all the expansions here nice and creeped locked down. Crept down? Whatever, you know what I mean. So, Terran's going to have to get rid of those Overlords. Might decide to make a Viking or 2 and send out a Marine kill team. That is something that, looking at the base right now, is probably not the first thought for the Terran player. You know, you get a medevac full of Marines, you drop it in the base. Yeah, sure, it's going to kill a lot of drones. What you're going to have to worry about, though, is those Infestors. So far, the Zerg player has shown he is pretty darn quick in the draw with catching drops and things of that sort with his Infestors. And we can see a couple Hellions coming over here doing a little bit of harassment. Not sure how effective that's going to be. Again, they're already really low hit points. You got a full group of roaches here in pursuit, as well as one angry queen, who you see is very proud of her 1 kill. All right, now we got Kabin actually deciding to move out. This could be to take the high yield. Sure enough, it looks like it is, as we have a few Infestors and all of the roaches getting ready to come down here once again. Zerg is looking for that opportunity when he can catch the Terran player off guard. However, Terran is not going to afford him that luxury. We see right there, he just moved his forces up ever so slightly, started constructing everything all at once, and really he was only vulnerable for a moment or two, certainly not long enough to exploit. And now we actually could have some kind of drop here. I don't know, he's got a bunch of Overlords moving in formation down to a random point on the map. With the sensor tower established, you see it's covering key positions. It's letting him see this area right here, this area, as we see that rock is still going down. I heard explosions. I'm thinking, oh god, I'm missing something, but that is not the case. Down here, and so yeah, the sensor tower is actually really well placed. There's that drop I was talking about a second ago. It looks like he just went ahead and scooped up all those roaches and is going to be taking to lunch. All right, hanging out right here at the car wash. I don't know. Couple missile turrets will be waiting for him, though. Now, I'm fairly sure these Overlords aren't going to have too many problems with this. They'll just simply get in there, drop a few roaches right here as they make their way in and kill those turrets. You see, Terran's force is quite immobile right now. He does have a number of siege tanks up here, but he's bringing over a few of his forces from the rear. Now, his base is laid out in such a way that defense is actually going to be pretty darn easy. Look at that. There's a funnel position here, and also you've got to go all the way around. So the Zerg player is going to have a bit of a difficult time breaking this line of defense. Sure enough, you see right there, the roaches are just going into the cracks. But notice that the Terran forces are now divided. Looking at the minimap here, Zerg is hoping to push forward on the Terran high-yield expansion, not realizing until just now, okay, he really didn't send a whole bunch of forces down there to stop me. He sent about, half of it or so. And still, with this planetary fortress here, and I like how he's creeping right up to this expansion. That's just awesome. With this planetary fortress, the siege tanks, and the sensor tower, Terran has more than enough information and defenses to be able to hold that high yield. Now, notice that TranceSG, all the while, has switched over into a Muta-based play here. So this is going to afford him some great hit-and-run abilities. He can get into the mineral line, do a ton of damage, combined with the Infestors and their fungal growth, be able to do some serious damage to the mineral lines. The question is whether or not he'll be able to get in there, pop them, and then send in the Mutas to finish them off. For now, let's see actually what he's going to be doing in the main base. Looks like he's actually content with taking out those missile turrets first. And oh, look at that little prize right there, trying to take out the Medivacs. Was able to secure one. Not the other, however. Second turret gone as well. So we see down here, he's still kind of content with where he's at this point. Don't think he could actually drop... Oh, one thing he could do, this is actually really lousy. Drop a creep tumor right here and cause these siege tanks to fire at that one. Just a kind of quirky little play he could be doing. But now with the Thor here, defense of his main base should be considerably easier. Looks like we're going to have to rule out that nice little creep tumor play. Don't think we're going to be seeing that happen since those other four have been exploded. Surprised Zerg hasn't knocked out those rocks yet, but that's okay. He's got, he's mining off of 3 bases right now. He's still going and getting gas off of all 4. So we can actually look at the income tab to see right now 1,600 to 700. Terran just now starting to mine off this base, and this one's starting to get mined out just a little bit. Looking at the units lost tab, do want to point out there is a hive on the way. We can see it's very close right now with resources lost. 7,200 and 7,175. You can see APM 242 to 141. And yeah, so there's that hatchery going down at the high yield expansion like we talked about just a moment or two ago. A little bit of meter harassment on the mineral line. Will he be able to take out this planetary fortress though? No, not with that Thor there. That's an awfully risky move. Well, we'll just keep an eye on those Mutas as they will probably continue to harass the Terran player. He's got one turret down here in this natural. So he's actually bringing over a bunch of SCVs. A little bit more harassment there. Just trying to keep this Terran player locked down with gas. That is one thing that he will be needing here in just a brief while if he wants to continue going with the build that he is. Oh man, this is just... Oh, that's wrong. That is so wrong. Look how many Zerglings those Hellions just killed. And now they're going in for the drones, which Zerg... Wow, that was actually very nice use of Overlords right there. Lifted up all the drones, parked them above, where the Hellions could not do a damn thing. Very nice play indeed. Good reaction there by Trance. Now, Terran is in kind of a quirky situation right now. You see, he's basically in super defensive mode. He's got all these tanks sitting around. He's got just enough Thor coverage to make sure those Mutas don't come in and try to do any prolonged assault. They can get in there, maybe do a hit and run, take out a few SCVs, but on the whole, not too much damage. There are a couple Infestors hanging out way down here. That's about it. We'll keep an eye on those red blobs and see what's going to be happening as the Terran player does look to move out. Oh man, Zerg could be in a little bit of trouble here. That is a lot of siege tanks, folks. But you look at the army or the unit comparison right now. You can see he's got 29 Mutas, 19 Roaches, a pretty decent amount. You see it's nice and stretched out right here. Meanwhile, down here you can actually see the Mutas are just having a field day with the Terran main base. Pretty sure this expansion is going to be going down for TranceSG. Not a lot he can do about it at this point, especially with all the Mutas down here, but he is just crippling the Terran's production capability. Look at that, knocking out the add-ons and everything, even going directly for that factory, hoping to take out what he assumes is a Thor building right there. That would be the most immediate threat. One factory has gone down. It looks like the second one will go down as well before the Marines are able to come in here and defend their base. Sure enough, there he goes, and TranceSG actually lets a bunch of his Mutas die. Probably a little bit of a mismicro there, but on the whole, I'd say that attack was pretty darn successful. And you look at the resources right now, Zerg certainly does have the ability to throw away a few Mutas at this point in the game. We see he's even working on a Greater Spire right now, as once again, here comes the Terran player trying to defend his base. Neural Parasite used on the Thor and the Siege Tank, buying him enough time to take out the high-yield expansion. think at this point Zerg is okay with losing the remainder of those forces, as mission accomplished, man. Terran is still working on just one base, which is not even really one base at this point. Here comes Terran. Look, he realizes, all right, I am in a terrible situation right now. I have got to make something happen in my favor. But look at this, man. Roach is coming from 3 different directions at the same time, doing a fantastic job of softening up the siege tank line. You see the Thors are trying to finish it off here, but even then, man, I'm not sure it's going to be enough. You see the Roaches coming in to finish off 2 very weak Thors. A few siege tanks moving down the line, and actually Terran's income, you can see right now, is not looking too pretty. While that has taken place, you see right there, the SCVs were actually killed by the 2 Infestors. Good catch on TranceSG's part. So on the whole, Terran is pretty much in quite a pickle at this point. We look and see he had 40 minerals coming in per minute, and once again, there we go. Another little bit of fungal growth landing on the SCVs there. As we see, there's a bunch of corruptors. Now, notice earlier we did have the production of a greater spire. Uh-oh, this Muta's coming in here to take out those SCVs. Oh, that'll be just wrong. And he scanned the Infestors without actually having anything there to kill them. Alright, well, whatever. That's cool. Works for me. Adrenal glands upgrade is on the way finally. About 30 minutes in here. Going to have those cracklings. And, oh man, Thor looking for some free kills here. Those Mutas were actually pretty tightly bunched there for a moment. A little bit wider of a spread now, but all in all, still suffered some pretty heavy losses there. Trance, at this point, I'm sure he is quite happy with himself. You know, he's still sitting on what'll soon be 3 and 4 bases right here in just a moment or two. And Terran, he's got, look at the minerals speak for themselves. Trying to shift his forces in a position here, and the Zerglings are just sort of saying, you know what, screw it. Damn the tanks, full speed ahead, going to go right into the top of the Terran main base here and try to take out more production facilities. Meanwhile, the Roaches are actually delaying the Terran response, and if you look over here, there are a few Mutas which could be hitting the Terran base. I don't know. You see there's no anti-air at this point, just a little bit of anti-ground right there at the Planetary Fortress, and there's even Broodlords and Ultras coming, just hanging out over here in the Zerg area. Terran has once again defended his base, but you look right here what the Zerg player has done. He's got a bunch of Zerglings back here in the very back of the base, forcing the Terran player to draw his forces all the way far away from where the Zerg is attacking now, which is with the Broodlords at the high yield, forcing a GG from Kabin. So all in all, pretty entertaining game. Have to say, Zerg did very well, keeping the Terran contained and ultimately securing a victory. So nice Infestor Roach play at the start with a very nice defense against that Marine push early, and I'm actually going to be casting some more of the SK Champions Trophy Tournament games for you in the next day or so. Look forward to those, and I'm out.